Hello there, friends and enemies. My name is O'Shea. It is finally 2024, which means it is time to talk about the games of 2023. The idea behind this is that I have listed down every single game that I have finished through to completion throughout the entire year, and then I would like to give my thoughts on all of those games at the beginning of the next year and give my game of the year, my personal game of the year. Mediocre Gaming's Game of the Year. There we go. In order to qualify for this list, a game has to have a campaign mode with an ending credit sequence that I can physically see when I get past the story of the game. I think that's enough explaining, so without further ado, let's begin. Starting this year off strong, I played 2018's Call of Cthulhu. Now, I had played the 2004 Call of Cthulhu game before with a friend of mine, and we thought that that game was absolutely hilarious, so when this game was announced, we knew that we had to play it. After years of putting it off, I finally got to play it back in March 2023, and I have to say, it's a relatively fun game. Call of Cthulhu doesn't make a whole bunch of sense a lot of the time, and it seems to be riddled with plot holes, but if you are a Lovecraft fan looking just for a fun little exploratory experience, Call of Cthulhu 2018 is a relatively fun game. While overall I found it to be more so a fun experience because it was unintentionally funny, I did actually enjoy my playthrough of it, and I'm thinking about giving it another try. Gotta see how all those endings go, you know what I mean? Next up we have Inscryption, and if you know anything about me, you know that I am a big card game person. Inscryption was a fantastic game. I loved Inscryption so much, and getting to see more of Inscryption past what the game offers you when you start it up is incredible. I'm not going to spoil Inscryption for anybody here that may not have played it yet, but I will say that if you enjoy card games or you enjoy games about card games, Inscryption is a pretty good game. Definitely deserves one of my top games of the year. I love Inscryption and I will definitely play it again. I highly recommend it to everyone. I played through the entire Silent Hill main title series, and I ended it in April of this year with Silent Hill Downpour. If you'd like to hear me talk about Downpour a little more in depth, I do have more discussion of it in my Silent Hill review part 2, but a little bit here. Downpour was a game that I played back when it first came out when I was a teenager. Playing it again, I wasn't expecting to like it that much, or at all really, and it exceeded my expectations spectacularly. I really did enjoy Silent Hill Downpour. I don't think it was the best Silent Hill game, but I did have a little bit of fun with it. Definitely worth a shot, I believe, if you are a Silent Hill fan. Danganronpa V3 Killing Harmony was next on the list, and it brought a pretty refreshing look at the Danganronpa formula. I do enjoy the differences in Danganronpa's formula that V3 puts forth, and I think it was a pretty well thought out and well made game. Frankly speaking, I enjoy the Danganronpa series, and all three of the main titles are good in their own way. I think Danganronpa V3 perfects the Danganronpa formula to an extent, and I won't spoil it here for people that haven't played it, but the ending gives me really mixed feelings. On one hand, I like it, on the other hand, it left me somewhat disappointed. But don't take that as a bad note. I do enjoy Danganronpa V3. If you like anime games that are pseudo-horror, I would recommend. Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild stands as the first Legend of Zelda game that I have played through to completion. It took me a week to beat, and it left me wanting more every single time I would save and quit. The way that Breath of the Wild handles its open world was really refreshing to me as a person who enjoys open world games but kind of has open world fatigue a little bit. Thoroughly speaking, it was one of the most enjoyable experiences that I had had playing an RPG at that point in time. And upon finishing Breath of the Wild, it was one of the best RPG games I had played in recent years, and I didn't think it could get any better. And then it got better. The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom released the day after I finished Breath of the Wild, and I got it for free. Tears of the Kingdom perfects Breath of the Wild's gameplay in a lot of ways, and Tears of the Kingdom was an incredible experience to have. Not only seeing how the Hyrule Kingdom has changed over the course of the few years between each game, but also seeing the new areas in Tears of the Kingdom. Link's new abilities made the game feel a lot more freeform and made me feel like I had a lot more choice than I did in the first game. And while building mechanics at first are a little bit slow and kind of hard to get your head around, once you get building down, it becomes an incredible mechanic. Tears of the Kingdom blew my mind, and it was an incredibly fantastic game. If you enjoy open world games, if you enjoy RPGs, and if you're just a fan of the Zelda series, definitely if you haven't played Tears of the Kingdom yet, I would 100% recommend. After Tears of the Kingdom, I decided to go back in time to an early Nintendo RPG and played Earthbound Beginnings. Earthbound is a series that I have wanted to play since I was a teenager, and finally getting to play it in the year 2023 on the Switch NES simulator was incredible. At first, I found the enemy encounters in Earthbound Beginnings to be very bothersome, annoying, a big nuisance, but once I discovered that the way that the game wants you to play is to die, I started having a lot more fun with the game. The more I played the game and the more I learned about how the game works, I had more fun and I figured out how the game was supposed to play. Although, and I won't mince words here, if I did not have the Thonky walkthrough to help me through the game, I would not have played it at all. I have modern gamer brain rot, and you can quote me on that. And I haven't finished the second game in the Earthbound series, but it's a lot better. An issue I have with Earthbound Beginnings is that all of the buildings and all of the towns look the same. The directions NPCs give you aren't even actually directions, and they don't help you much. At least they didn't help me. Maybe a smarter person would have a better time with it. Nevertheless, Earthbound Beginnings was an incredible game. The Elder Scrolls IV Oblivion was the latest in my Elder Scrolls journey, and it was definitely a game. While I personally believe that Oblivion's world building and story holding is much better than that of Elder Scrolls V Skyrim, I do still think that Oblivion has a ton of problems. It has a lot of amazing gameplay mechanics that were carried over from Morrowind that I wish would have been carried over to Skyrim, but when you get into level scaling or anything close to that nature of mechanics, the game is atrocious at it. Colors are overly blasted and saturated, character models look awful, and lighting effects can sometimes make everything just blast with color and make it hard to see things sometimes. While I enjoyed my experience with Oblivion, now that I've finished it, I probably wouldn't go back and actually play the game again. But the Shivering Isles DLC was really good, so keep that in mind. And as a last-minute clutch to finish off our year, I got to finally experience Disco Elysium. Another game I got for free. Starting Disco Elysium, I didn't know what to think, and honestly, the game plays out much differently than I expected, especially the ending. The game has ample dialogue options that bounce between multiple different skills, and it actually makes you feel like you have a choice in what you're doing. Whereas, personally, I feel like a lot of choice-based games only give you the illusion of choice. Things you say and do in Disco Elysium actually affect the way that you're able to interact with other characters and even bits of your environment. I found myself getting very, very invested into characters and story plots of Disco Elysium really, really quickly. What can I say? The game had me emotionally tied down for a long time. If you haven't had the pleasure of experiencing Disco Elysium, I would definitely recommend it. It's a point-and-click game that gives you options as to what you want to do, and you can spec into different skills to make different options be better, or some options won't happen if you don't have a certain number in a certain skill. It's also got a lot of dialogue. They wrote a lot of stuff for Disco Elysium. My point is, you should play Disco Elysium. It's a good game. And there we have it, my games of 2023. And now that I've laid them all out for you, let's talk about Game of the Year. Now, unlike the official Game of the Year awards, I don't have access to new-gen consoles because I'm a peasant. So my Game of the Year is going to be strictly based on the games that I've listed out for you in this video. And it is with the smallest amount of hesitation that I present the mediocre gaming Game of the Year, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I really want to say Disco Elysium, but Tears of the Kingdom is really, really good. That is it, and I am excited to get into more videos about video games in 2024. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you feel about these games down below. Once again, I thank you so much for watching. I have a ton of stuff planned. It is really hard to get these videos out when you've got a full-time job and you're running another YouTube channel that you're focusing a little bit more on. But nevertheless, I want to have these videos to have the smallest crumb of professionalism to them. So they take a little bit more time, but I am working on them, I promise. I've got a ton of videos planned out. Enough rambling. Thank you for watching the video for a third time. And until next time, as always, drink your water.